This week's guest was a construction worker in London that had a realization that this wasn't where he was meant to be in life. He started trying then to find ways to talk to wealthy people. What made them wealthy, but not him? He bounced around a lot of different jobs trying to find his groove. Insurance, cake sales, garden work. Eventually, he ran a concierge service, making the impossible possible. He helps his clients walk the red carpet at Sir Elton John's Oscar party, get married at the Vatican, and dive to the wreck of the Titanic. His book is called Blue Fishing, The Art of Making Things Happen, because he is an expert on making it happen and personal branding. And you know, someone that I really admire, Genius Network founder Joe Polish, said, if you can dream it, Steve Sims is the guy who can make it happen. So, hey, it's great to have you here. Welcome to GRE, Steve Sims.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So blue fishing, kind of leveling up your game. And really, you know, to get back closer to the origin, Steve, it sounds like perhaps that's part of your path. When you were a bricklayer in London and you're trying to get around wealthy people and find out what they were doing, leveling up, and you didn't find out until later on, perhaps that was called blue fishing. So, you know, tell us about where those conversations led you when you were getting around wealthy people and getting in conversations with them, trying to learn about how they were wealthy, but you weren't at the time.
Well, obviously the conversations were bad. And I say obviously because every time we do anything, it's terrible compared to how it is 2 years later. I was an aggravated young man with no money riding around on a motorcycle. And I was aggravated because I wouldn't settle for where I was. So you combine that with my boisterous, slightly aggressive image and look, it wasn't a good thing to have. And I would help people get into nightclubs and I would try and spark up conversations with affluent people. And I would say, hey, I got a question for you. So my tone was very abrupt. And I'd be like, hey, I need to ask you, how come you're rich and I'm not? And of course, the tonality of which I entered into that conversation, that was bad. The pace, the tempo, it was horrible. But also the question was bad. Because you see, when I ask you, how rich are you? You start thinking about a number. Most people correlate being rich with a number, whether it be the bank account, how much assets it's a number. And so it makes you feel uncomfortable. You know, I say, how rich are you? And it's like, I feel uncomfortable about answering that question. So I didn't get very good response. So then the next time I started speaking to people, I would say, hey, I need to ask you, how come you're wealthy and I'm not? And I thought by changing that word, that would help.
Yeah.
Then I started getting into a conversation, but the conversations were like, well, wealth is family. And I met my wife when she was 21 and I found the Lord and I do line dancing in my local country club. And I'm thinking now, I'm going, well, I'm not going to do line dancing or marry your wife. So that doesn't help me. And so again, it was the wrong question to get the tactics, hacks and techniques that I needed. So I very quickly learned that if you don't ask the question, if you don't like the answer, it's probably because you're asking the wrong question.
Right. You want a better answer? Ask better questions.
Bingo. So I started looking at it and I ask rich, it's money. I ask wealth, it's lifestyle. What's the success? Let's try that. And so by now I'm starting to slow down my tempo and I'm like, hey, I've got to be asking you, how come you're successful and I'm not? And people are actually very happy with it. People are very happy. I ask you, hey, how do you quantify success? Or what do you think makes you successful? Or what do you think your unicorn is to make you successful? You actually want to tell me. Funny enough, it's how I treat people, or it's how I go into a business deal, or it's how I look at money and the impact. But all of a sudden, I'm getting answers and I'm actually getting the tactics. So that was it. Third one, home run. What makes you successful and I'm not? Now, those were the first questions I used to ask. What idiot is going to gain that information and then not actually action it? Now, I may be slightly stupid, but I'm not that big a moron. So as people are telling me how to face opportunity and handle people and learn how to treat people properly, I'm actioning it. And the byproduct of a successful mentality is income. It's like you want to lose weight. You don't lose weight by buying a diet book. You lose weight by actioning the articles in the diet book. Losing weight is a reaction to action. Getting money is a reaction to being successful. And success literally starts the second you adopt a successful mindset. And that was as simple as it was. And of course, as I grew and started speaking with everyone from, the Archbishop of St. Peter's to Elon Musk and Richard Branson and all of these other kind of people all around the planet, Elton John, I was able to go, hey, how do you view success? Or how come you're successful when so many other people are not? I was able to take myself out of that equation because I was now, as I believe I am, a successful mindset.